Okay, let's talk about one of the most maddening mysteries of modern life. You know the one. You're paying for a super fast, high bandwidth internet connection, but everything just feels slow, right? Video calls are choppy, websites take forever to load, and you're just left scratching your head, wondering where all that speed you're paying for actually went. Well, today, we're going to put on our detective hats and crack this case wide open. So here's our game plan. First, we'll shine a light on the invisible problems that cause all this pain. Then we're going to talk about a much smarter way to think about this. After that, we'll get into the real nitty-gritty, how we find the actual culprits hiding in your network. From there, we'll see how all that data gets turned into a real plan of action, how you can get your hands on this solution, and finally, we'll talk about what the real goal of all this is.
All right, first things first, we have to investigate the scene of the crime and really get a handle on these problems that you can't easily see.
I mean, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? It's the question that makes you want to reboot your router for the 10th time or spend an hour on the phone with your internet provider. You just know something is off, but you can't quite put your finger on what it is. And this right here is the absolute heart of the frustration. On paper, you have all the bandwidth in the world, but in reality, your actual performance is sluggish. It's this bizarre paradox where you've paid for a multi-lane superhighway, but for some reason you feel like you're stuck in bumper-to-bumper traffic. But what if the answer isn't to just keep adding more lanes to that highway? Let's move on and talk about a smarter way to look at this whole thing.
You know, this is really the core idea, a total shift in thinking. The point isn't to just throw more money at the problem, to buy even faster internet or brand new shiny equipment. No. The goal is to get really smart about the infrastructure you already have and squeeze every last drop of performance out of it. It's all about working smarter, not just spending more. Okay, so if the goal is to be more efficient, how in the world do we find out what's really going on under the hood? Well, this is where the real detective work kicks in.
We do it by running a really comprehensive battery of 15 different tests. Now, here's the crucial part. These tests aren't run from some far-off data center. They're run directly from your own computers and servers, the actual places where people are experiencing the slowdown. That's how you get the true, unfiltered story of what's happening. We start with the absolute fundamentals, what we call the network core tests. Think of these like checking the vital signs of your network. We're looking at things like latency, which is just the delay for data to get from A to B. We look at jitter, which is how inconsistent that delay is. And of course, packet loss, which is when little bits of your data just vanish into thin air. These basics tell us if the very foundation of your network is healthy.
But, you know, a healthy foundation is only half the picture. The next round of tests are all about what your users actually feel. We're measuring the real-world performance of the apps that your business can't live without. Things like VoIP calls, those critical Zoom and Teams meetings, and even just how fast a web page loads. This is what connects all that technical data to the actual human experience.
And just to make sure our investigation covers all the angles, we run these tests against a whole bunch of different targets. We test connections to your own local servers, for sure, but also to the huge global services that we all use every day, hosted by companies like Microsoft, Google, and AWS. This is so important because it helps us pinpoint whether the problem is inside your own house or somewhere out on the wider internet.
Now let's zoom in on one of my favorite clues we look for. It's a sneaky thing called buffer bloat. The best way to think about this is like a hidden traffic jam inside your network. So what we do is create a controlled stress test. We basically push your connection hard for a moment to see exactly where things start to back up and create lag when the line is actually busy. It's a brilliant way to uncover a problem that might be completely invisible when things are quiet.
So collecting all this evidence, all these clues, is great. But a pile of data by itself doesn't really help anyone. The real magic is turning all of that information into a solution. And the process for that is super methodical. First, all that test data is gathered up in one central place. Then we dive deep into it, analyzing it to find the patterns that matter. We also take a close look at how your network gear is configured to connect the dots. And what's the final result? It's not some giant, confusing spreadsheet. It's a clear, step-by-step action plan designed to fix the very problems we just uncovered. Of course, an amazing plan is only useful if it's easy to get. So let's talk for a second about how this whole service is actually delivered. The entire thing is delivered as a software as a service, or SaaS, model. And what that really means is that it's designed to be incredibly simple, and it comes with some massive benefits for you.
For starters, there is absolutely nothing for you to install. No complicated software, no agents to deploy, it just works. And that means you can get going so much faster. Benefit number 2, this means there's no extra investment needed from you. You don't have to go out and buy any expensive testing hardware or dedicated appliances to get all of these deep insights into your network. And what does that all add up to? Fast access. You can get started right away and get the answers you need to start improving your network without having to wait for some long, drawn-out project to finish. Okay, let's bring it all home now and talk about the ultimate goal. Because this isn't just about fixing a slow network today. It's really about a much bigger, more strategic idea. And here we are, right back where we started, with our core philosophy. The real objective here is to give you the tools and the knowledge to use what you already have in a much more conscious and efficient way. It's about transforming your network from this mysterious black box of frustration into a fine-tuned, high-performance asset for your organization. Which really just leaves us with one last question for you to think about. After seeing just how deep you can go to find the real story, is it time to ask yourself, are you really unlocking the true potential of the network you're already paying for every single month? Thanks so much for joining me on this little investigation.